Hiya, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now, you may have seen recently Daniel Cooper did an amazing video with baby lotion. If you haven't seen that, I will link his video in the description box below. But it's opened up so many possibilities and I couldn't wait to try it. Now, I have talked to Daniel and he's really cool. He likes the piece that I made, so I'm really happy that he does. This is all his inspiration. I just took it a little bit in a different direction because I didn't have any baby lotion, so I tried something else. And it did work, kind of. But this is inspired by Daniel Cooper. Go and check out his channel. He's an amazing artist and very ingenious. So yeah, let's have a look how I've got on with this Halloween style platter. So the night before I filmed this, I was trying out some lotion that I have. Now, it's not baby lotion. It's not the same as what Daniel used, but it's all I had. And it was white to start with, but it kind of dried out. I used some stencils I'd actually cut myself on the xTool M1, and I like the stencils. I like the effect, but I'm not sure this is going to work because it was white and now it's clear. Who knows? So this is a rather gorgeous, really large mould for a platter, and it's got a really nice curved edge to it. It was gifted to me, so I can't tell you where it came from. I have no clue. So this is a stencil that I cut from a roll of plastic I got from AliExpress. Now, it's great plastic to use on silicone because it does adhere to the silicone mould. However, because it's rolled in a really tight roll, it's all over the place. It's really uneven, and although it cut really nicely because I had it stuck down in the M1, trying to put it onto this mould is a bit of a nightmare. Now, I did actually think I could probably iron it, but I decided to put it between two tiles and put a heavy weight on top of it. I did heat it up as well, and mostly that worked. Well, that was a bit of a rude interruption. Anyway, I've got the lotion in the bottle. Now, there's not much point in me showing you what lotion it is because it's prescribed by a doctor because I have eczema. So it's actually an eczema medication type skin cream thing for dry skin. So there's not much point in me actually showing you what the brand is because I'm sure that there are plenty of baby type lotions on the market, and as Daniel was showing, the baby lotion works perfectly as it is, and that's quite cheap to buy. And I have ordered it at this point, but it just hasn't arrived. So I'm using the needle top bottle that are available on Amazon. I do have linked in my Amazon storefront to go around the entire stencil, trying not to get the baby lotion underneath the edge. Now, at the top, it's all quite flat. When it comes to the tree, however, it's still quite curvy. So I'm trying to keep it flat while not keep my hands in the way, and there's lots of bits that are sticking up. So I'm trying to use different implements just to keep it flat. It's quite soft plastic, so it doesn't take much to push it down to the mould. And once I've done that little bit, then I can move all the implements and just place the bits where I need. It's really just that one corner I struggled with because there was a few pieces that were all curling up together and I only have two hands. So I just carry on putting the lotion in the areas that I need it, that I want it. I'm not too worried if it does go underneath the stencil because all it takes is a little bit of baby wipe or cotton bud to clean it off anyway. Well, that was rude. Right, done all the way around the outside edge. Let's see if I can pull this off successfully. That's the thing, isn't it? When you're trying to be gentle, you're always going to mess it up. You should just go for it. I really should learn my lesson and just go for things instead of trying to be gentle, because I end up messing it up, but it was fine. The little pieces that came out of the witch or wizard were actually a pain, and I really shouldn't have put them in. It would have been better for me, I think, if I had just filled them in and could have gone with the cotton bud afterwards like I'm doing here, and just cleaned the area out and tidied up the edges. And I think it worked just as well, to be honest. And it did occur to me at that point that I could have done the whole of this without a stencil at all. I could have just put a picture underneath the piece and copied over it. Now that I'm ready to pour resin, I'm going to use Let's Resin epoxy resin for this. There's a discount code on the screen. It's also in the description box below, together with an affiliate link. It's one of my favourite resins. I'm also going to use Let's Resin chameleon powder in grape, and this time I'm not going to dust it on the mould. I'm putting it actually in the resin as well. Now this is a rarity for me, I know, but I just love this colour. It's a blue purple and I just adore it. So what I thought I'd do on these smaller ones is to make the edge the purple. Doesn't matter too much if it goes over the top, but I want the edge all in purple, and then the rest can be clear. That's what I'm thinking. So I've made enough resin just for the edge, and although I'm going round to use the rest of it up, the clear is going to be poured in the middle, and I just pour it over this design. You can't see the design, it's disappeared completely because it's so clear, but it is there, it hasn't moved. I've got them on a heat mat because it is quite chilly here in the UK. I squirt them both with isopropyl alcohol and I leave them to cure. Moving on to the larger mould, I decided to use a split cup instead for the rim of this mould. I thought it would be cool to have it not solid purple, but a wispy purple, if you see what I mean. Now I am going to be filling up the rest of this mould with clear. So I figured that the wispiness of the clear and purple around the outside edge might encourage the colour and getting rid of the hair that's in there to flow into the centre as it's curing. Because resin always flows into the centre, doesn't it? With newly mixed resin, any colour will like to join with another colour, regardless of whether it's clear or not. I'm just finishing off the purple and the rest of the clear in the split cup around the outside edge because I do want it to flow into the centre. Although I don't want it to completely be purple, I want it to do its thing, you know. It does travel towards the middle, it always does when it's curing. It's really fascinating to watch. Again, I squirt it with the isopropyl alcohol. Then I grabbed a silicone stick and decided to help it on its little journey into the centre, just by giving it a little nudge here and there. Then I thought, actually there's probably bubbles underneath that edge because it's a rounded edge and it comes over the top of the resin. So I thought I'd better go around the outside edge with a silicone tool and get out any trapped air that might be in there. So not everything I make goes to plan, and this was a good example. If you remember, these two pieces were left overnight and had turned clear. Now I think it's because the water had evaporated from the cream. Basically they just left the grease behind, and the grease had come up through the resin and made the back of the resin out of shape, had a pattern on it, and it felt greasy. You can see I'm actually trying to clean it with isopropyl alcohol, and it did get rid of the greasiness that's on the back, but that was about it. Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? I've got to take them out of the mould and have a look. And this is where I find that the effect is really bizarre. It's really dry and scratchy, and there's a mark on the back, like a honeycomb effect at the back on both of them. One more than the other. But it was definitely there, and it was definitely from the grease. So I decided, I might as well try and fix them. So I got my deburring tool and went around that outside edge to get rid of the overspill. These deburring tools again will be linked in my Amazon storefront, which is at the bottom of the description box. They are really handy to go around any edge, and you won't cut your fingers with them either. They're a lot easier than I thought they would be. I got some sanding paper out, some 400 wet dry sanding paper, and I cut it into small pieces, and because the middle one didn't have 400 written on it, I made sure I'd labelled it so they'd know in the future. I squirted one with water and decided to give it a good sand. Now this did take me quite a while because I was trying to go below the line of the pattern that it left on the back. I did actually figure in the end that I was not going to get anywhere near that pattern, and it probably goes right the way through the resin, but it was worth a try. I needed to see if I could fix this. So if I'd have gone further with the sanding, I think maybe I could have got a bit more of it out, but I actually quite liked the pattern. I did want to know if I could get rid of it, but the pattern itself was quite appealing to me, so I thought, I'm not going to do it on the other one. Let's leave it there and we'll put a backing colour on it. But is it going to do the same to the other piece? Well, as it happens, I knew what to look for, and although it may look on the camera as if it has affected the back, it hasn't at all. So lesson learned, if I'm going to use this cream, I've got to pour it the same day. I'm going to use some plum, which is Chameleon Plum from Let's Resin, and this is another beautiful colour. It is a blue pink. I'm going to pour it all over the back, and although it doesn't stick to the resin, it should cover it nicely. It's very odd the way this works because it is no stickiness at all on this resin because it's totally cured. But the powder will stay there and will colour the resin as long as you don't brush it off. You could quite easily just brush it all away. I'm trying to use a really big soft brush so that I can dab the colour and make it stay where I want it to without it being brushed away. The first brush I was using was a little bit too hard and it was taking it off as well as putting it on. Once I've blown off the excess, I'm going to use Vuba Vista Black pigment for the resin. I do love this pigment. It is a solid black colour. So easy to mix in with any resin, and yeah, it's really good. I will put their link in the description box below. Although I don't use their resin these days, this pigment is amazing. I only just made enough black resin for this. I think I had some spare resin to one side, so I quickly added a little bit more black and made a top up part. And I used the back of the plastic tool to edge the resin up to the edge. Squirt with isopropyl alcohol and left it to cure on a heat mat. After about an hour, I did actually remember to put my TC in. I've taken out the silicone piece and I filled it with white UV resin. And now the excitement is, has this worked? I am really looking forward. I've never made this tray. I've never used this mould before either. So I'm really excited to see the shape of the mould as well as the pattern that I've put on it. I have so been looking forward to seeing this. And straight away, I absolutely love the colours. I love the pattern. And I even love the fact that I put the cream around the outside edge of the stencil and made a border to it, and I absolutely love it. Now I did squirt it with isopropyl alcohol and I tried to clean up all the cream that was left on it. I did clean up the mould first. I used my fingers, but in the end I decided to run it under warm soapy water, and that was the better option. Trying to use a baby wipe just didn't work. Once I'd completely cleaned off all the lotion from this piece, it dried out. And as it dried out, it got whiter and whiter. It had some kind of reaction with the resin, and although my nice picture was there, it was ruined by the white dust. So again, I've got to try and fix it. Now you can see here that I'm pointing to a little area that is nice and clear. And that's because I touched it up with clear UV resin. I'm using Let's Resin UV resin, putting it in a little container and using a very fine paintbrush and covering the areas with a extremely thin layer of UV resin. And that's all it needed. It needed to be brought back to clear. That was it. I obviously didn't want to fill in the pattern because the pattern is what I've done it for. But the clear UV resin just took away that whiteness, like a sanded resin. And it brought it back to life. And I'm so happy that I tried this because I really liked this tray. I love the patterns. I love everything about it, but I hated that white dusty effect. So I'm so happy that this worked. It did take a little time, but then UV resin cures really quickly, doesn't it? And I found out that if you hold the button down on those UV lamps, it does stay on for 2 minutes. Thank you so much for everyone who told me about that. So finally, I had the platter that I was looking for, and I absolutely love the design. I love this way of making things. Thank you so much, Daniel, for experimenting with the resin and finding this out. It's definitely a game changer and I am hooked. The other two, I put a thin layer of clear resin and some film on the back and then finished it off with white resin, just domed it with white resin in the back. But it really does pop and I love these too. Even with the flaws, they're still very cool. I really enjoyed making these and I will definitely be using this technique again in the future because it is so much fun. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week, happy crafting, and bye for now.